Have you ever felt like you were fighting battles that your soul didn't start? That's just not bad luck. It could be a generational curse. Let's talk about what a generational curse is and how to break it. Let's first start off by explaining what a generational curse is. A generational curse is a pattern or a behavior that is passed down from one generation to the next. This curse is something that your ancestors did, practiced, or believed, aka karma. And as a consequence of these actions and beliefs, these curses were passed down to you. So I'm going to give you just a few examples and signs that you can tell if your family might be under a generational curse. So one of the first signs that you can tell if your family's under a generational curse is addictions. Okay, so this could be an addiction to drugs, alcohol, sex, and multiple other things. Another sign is mental illness in family. So this could be bipolar disorder, this could be depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, personality disorder, and a whole bunch of other mental illnesses. Now, this one was a little bit shocking for me, but it makes complete sense. But did you know that a generational curse can be domestic violence or abuse, which is toxic and unhealthy relationships with family members, friends, and lovers? Another sign that your family might be under a generational curse is generational poverty. Now, it's important to know that poverty is a mindset, and it's also defined as being extremely poor or somebody who lacks the usual or social acceptable means to be able to have money or material possessions. And it also is said for people who aren't able to satisfy their basic needs. And a few signs of the generational poverty, this could show up as families not being able to make ends meet, always struggling with money, always in a bind, homelessness. This could be, hunger. This could be scarcity. This could be a whole bunch of different things in regards to how your family is able to maintain and stay consistently financially stable. Now, this is an interesting one. Did you know that a generational curse can be passed down through spoken word? And what I mean by that is by how your family thinks and how they speak. It can be passed down from one generation to the next. So if they think they have, a poverty mindset, or they're going to tell you that you're never going to be anything, or whatever the case may be, it's like those spoken words have power, okay? And you are the creator of your reality. So be mindful of how you're speaking to yourself and your children. You've probably noticed some of these curses, but never knew what it was. These curses are passed down from your parents, and the curse started with your ancestors. And I'll give you a few other examples of generational curses. Did you know that generational curses is teen pregnancy in family? So say, for instance, your mother got pregnant at a young age and her mother got pregnant at a young age. That could be something, having multiple children, having failed marriages, divorce after divorce. It could be addictions. It could be patterns that have been happening in your family for generations. The problem is the family didn't break this curse. They just continued to pass it on from one generation to the next. Some just thought it was normal. But the good news is that you have the power to break these generational curses. Now, this next generational curse is going to be a little bit sensitive, okay? But it happens in all families. I mean, not all families, but it happens in a lot of families, I would say. But the biggest generational curse is sex, okay? This is in regards to molestation. This is incest, hypersexuality, and also sexual abuse. Generational curses happen because the family is not in alignment with God or the divine. Somehow a family member chose the wrong path, and it just has been following them from one generation to the next. But you have the power to stop it. It's about choices. And that's one thing in regards to breaking these generational curses. You have a choice to what actions and how you speak and how you go about life. And what I meant by the family is not in alignment with the divine or God. It's important to know that generational curses don't follow spirit or God. They follow the family member. Now, for these signs that your family is under a generational curse, we're going to start with addictions and go into a little bit more detail about that. So, in regards to addictions, like I said earlier, this could be an addiction to drugs, alcohol, it could be sex, it could be gambling, it could be social media, it could be food, it could be all types of different things. Those are some of the cues that you can look for in regards to if your family is carrying a generational curse. And some examples of mental illness is, again, bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, PTSD. It could be a whole bunch of different things that are destructive to the family. These are destructive patterns and behaviors that create these generational curses. Generational curses in families can also manifest in a physical way, which means this could be cancers, hypertension, heart disease, this could be diabetes, and possibly even autism. So, how do you stop a generational curse or cycle? Simply by just stop doing the repetitive behavior or pattern that has been persistent throughout the family. Align yourself with the divine or God and connect with yourself spiritually. You can break generational curses by being self aware and openly discussing the destructive pattern. Openly discuss the actions that you can take to stop the generational curse from continuing. But the problem is, most families can't break generational curses because they refuse to talk about it, they're in denial, they refuse to acknowledge it, and they refuse to take action, and then they act like it never happened. Therapy and medication can help with breaking generational curses, especially mental illness, but oftentimes it's not enough. The only thing that the medication will do is suppress things from the past traumas, emotions, and thoughts. And it's important to remember that generational curses is a spiritual thing. So these generational curses are evil and sometimes even demonic energies, and they have to be dealt with as such. Another thing that you might want to do in regards to breaking family curses is that you want to educate yourself on your family history. So you want to notice the repetitive behaviors and patterns that have been persistent over and over from generation to generation. I'm going to show you an example of how I did this. So I sat down with myself. It was in a quiet space. I was sitting with my thoughts. I was connecting with my higher self, my angels, my ancestors, and my guides. And I just kind of, wrote down this stuff about my family history and the things that I know of just by seeing it, visualizing it, okay, from my mom's side and my dad's side, and realize how some of those family curses trickle down to me. In order to break generational curses, you have to accept that it is your responsibility to break these generational curses. And during the journey of breaking generational curses, it's important for you to remember that the generational curse stops with you. You are the generational curse breaker. You are the one that has been chosen to break and heal these family curses. And lastly, remember that you have all the power to break these generational curses.